Hey, ballers! Welcome to another episode of the Real Estate Baller Show. If you're new here, my name is Vili. This is the show about sharing real estate, real life lesson, experience, and knowledge. The purpose is to help you to reach your financial freedom in real estate investing faster. So today's guest is James Toler. And when I was first introduced to James, I was told he was the new sheriff in town. And sure enough, in 7 short years, James has been able to build a successful real estate operation. He was able to bring his wife into the business. He ran a successful real estate meetup group and also started a lending company. So join us in my conversation with James today. Mr. James Toler in the
Yeah.
house. How are
All
you?
right. Thank you so much for having me.
I heard a term that people used to call you the new sheriff in town.
Oh,
So,
shoot. Oh, man. That's my hero said that.
so tell us, give the audience a quick introductions of who you are, James.
Yeah. So my name's James Toler. I've been in real estate 7 years. Started in 2016. I ran a highway maintenance company for my dad. And I didn't want to wake up when I was 50, and be, him sell the company or, something happen. I felt like getting to a place where you could have some financial independence, started having kids. It's kind of funny when I was looking at kind of breaking off and doing something else. And I have a process tech degree, like to be an operator out in the refineries. Cause
Uh-huh.
I'm in the east side of town, it's all refineries out here. And I
Yeah.
went out and, I was looking at actually getting hired, and my wife wouldn't let me. She literally would not let me. And she goes, James, I want you to. I think you can do more. Ultimately, I think you
Yeah.
have more to give and more to offer. And so she told me, she said, James, I've got this. I've got this. Handle the finances for a little while, and I want you to find something that I think you could, one you love doing, but that you'll do well in. So it's kind of interesting how I got into this, which is really through my wife, giving me enough time to really learn what this was, real estate investing. And
How'd you get so
I
lucky?
got real lucky, when I first met her, she she told me, she goes, well, look, I've got this goal. I've got goals, and my husband is going to have a degree, like a college
Mm-hmm.
degree. And I said,
Yeah.
well, I don't have anything. I'm sorry, I don't have anything. And it's always joke around. I actually went back to school.
Yeah.
I didn't have no degree. I went back to school really to get a certificate so that I could get a
Yeah.
certificate. That college degree helped me get married to her. That was probably one of the best decisions I ever made. Finding a great woman and spouse. Ultimately, but yeah, she kind of backed me, and she helped me really get into this. And part of it was I went all in, into real estate and like an obsession. Just
Mm-hmm.
all day, every day sort of thing. I think that's what it takes to some degree to do well, really in anything. But I got kind of started through, watching HGTV, that kind of thing, and
Yeah.
you'd see $80,000 flips and all that. They conveniently leave out there was holding cost and realtor cost and overages and all that. It was enough to get me interested in it, which I guess did me a favor. But learn pretty quick. There's a lot more to it.
Yeah, I know. Like I always said, there's HGTV and then there's
Yeah,
reality.
those are pretty far
You
apart
know,
too.
they are. Yes.
uh,
Yeah, and it's so ignorant when you hear people say, "Well, you pay me 200,000 for a house, and you're gonna sell it at 220. You're gonna profit
yeah,
20,000."
exactly.
So I wish that was the
Well, we'd
case.
all
We
be
all be rich, huh?
billionaires, right?
Yeah.
Be pretty easy.
So when you got into real estate, what did you do?
Well, I got started flipping, so I knew nothing. I'm the kind of guy that'll jump in there. I don't need to know everything to make a decision. I jumped in not really knowing what I was doing, but I did. I partnered with my sister, so it helped me a lot. I figured, if I lost my shirt doing a deal, at least I'd lose half my shirt.
I don't know if your sister likes to lose
Yeah,
half of her
right.
shirt.
So we'll do that together. Yeah, and we did our first deal, net worth. We bought it from net worth.
Yeah.
We didn't know what we were doing. I mean, really didn't.
Yeah.
Um, so we bought it. And we made $4,000 a
I'm
piece.
surprised you're still around.
Huh?
I said, I'm surprised you're still
Yeah,
around.
exactly, exactly.
Not to put net worth down, but a lot of people bought from net worth. They don't stick
Well,
around
and I
anymore.
learned my lesson. you know, I didn't know what was going on either. That was literally the first deal I've ever done. But I put the pieces together, what they did, which was really interesting. I'm usually pretty good at analyzing things. Like I can see what
Mhm.
works and what doesn't. And I realized what they did was a genius move, right? They got this house under contract and then they sold it to me and they made a risk-free profit. They gave me a model with which to think about real estate. I'd never thought about doing that or knew you could do that.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
everything's a lesson, right? Like
Yep.
I'm just trying to learn and learn and learn and learn, and then over time you pick up all these little ideas on how to do real estate,
Mhm.
or maybe there's a better way
Mhm.
to do it. So did that deal, we made $4,000, and learned a lot. What do people go out and spend 30 grand on training and coaching that never do a deal? I always tell people,
Right.
hell, you could lose
Right.
30 grand in a deal, or 20, whatever. To me, that'd be more useful than going to pay 30 grand than you never actually do a deal.
Mhm.
Hopefully you. So anyway, I started off. At least I didn't lose anything, which is great. And then I did another deal with my sister, and on that one we made $58,000. Yeah,
That's
we split
awesome.
it. And it went real good. And I kind of felt, I felt more comfortable with the process. After that, I found a good
Mhm.
contractor. I've been working with the same contractor since I started. It's about relationships. At the end of the
Yeah.
days, I've heard Eddie say that that's probably one of the most difficult parts to real estate is finding good quality contractors, and I would agree with that wholeheartedly. And that really stems to relationships. If you take care of your people, ultimately,
Mhm.
hopefully you can provide them steady work, and they're providing you, good quality product at a reasonable price, which I think that's a huge component of this game. But
So both of your first and second deals were single family
yes,
homes?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I did those two deals, and then I broke out on my own. What really helped me was I had a church that was basically going folding their whole church, and
Mhm.
he owned a house on the water. It was an acre on the water, big beautiful home, and he was getting rid of the church, but also as part of that church was his house on the water,
Mm.
beautiful home, and he didn't
Yeah.
want to make anything. He told me, "Look, James, this is in a non-profit. I can't make
Mhm.
anything. So I want what the first lien payoff is." And I
Okay.
went over there, and there was like four other investors there, and I stayed 3 hours. These guys came in
Yeah.
here and they took their notepads and wrote down real fast. It was a little 10-minute
Yeah. Yeah.
thing. Picked the house apart and left. And all of them did the same
Yeah.
thing. Well, me and that owner stayed on his driveway for 3 hours after everybody left
Mhm.
into the night. And it was like
Yeah.
8, 9 o'clock at night, and we're just sitting here talking. And
Yeah.
ultimately, I got that house over everybody else, and I got that deal for 170,000. I put
Yeah.
20 in it, and I got 281. And that was the first really big one that I got. Considering that was like my
Yeah.
fourth deal, right? I mean, I hadn't done that many.
So this is the house on the
Yeah, it was
water.
on the water. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
and but it was also the first time I did two deals at once, and so I
Yeah.
kind of realized early on that you can't really make any money doing one at a time.
Mhm.
That's just that, right? I mean, it's just if you want to take a nice vacation to Cancun or somewhere, I mean, you could do one at a time, right? But you're not really gonna pay. You're not gonna really do well doing one at a time.
It's a good paying job doing one at a
Yeah,
time,
exactly. I mean, you want to just
you
make a
know.
living. You're not going to build
Yeah.
wealth, which I did this to really build wealth and do it rapidly. But it
Yeah.
wasn't going to happen one at a time. And that was really, I kind of picked that up pretty quick, after two or three,
Mhm.
four. Now, there was some growth that I had to have. I was terrified, to do two at a time like that. But I also had such large equity position in it that it helped me feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
But so anyway, I started doing, I did those two deals. I never forget thinking, I said, if these two deals ever sell, I'm going to do real well. I'm going to
Mhm.
I can see it, right? I mean, if they'll just sell,
Yeah.
I'll have so much money. And they did. And then, I started doing three at a time. So that's kind of how I got
Uh-huh.
into it, doing two, three at a time, five at a time. And I reinvested. I'm a pretty frugal guy. And my wife helped me immensely, just being a part of what we're doing, but she let me reinvest a lot of this money back into the business. So as opposed to
Mhm.
making money and then just kind of blowing it off, I would reinvest it and reinvest it right back into it, and I would expand it, right? So that's how we went from 2 to 5 to 8, at a time. Just
Mm-hmm.
got really good crews and got private money that would help me. They would lend me all the money up front, so I'd have all the rehab. I'd have all my purchase
Yeah.
price, have all the rehab because I'd find, and
Yeah.
my job was really to find the deals at that point. I had
Yeah.
all the contractors together, I had everything, and so that really helped me tremendously. And then, when you start doing that many at a time, you can really scale quick, and especially when you're reinvesting it all.
What's the most number of deals you do at a
At a
time
time,
now?
15 at a
15.
time, yeah. Yeah, and that's wholesale. Part of that is as deals come in, you're kind of cherry picking the ones you like, and you're wholesaling
Mm-hmm.
off the rest. So
Mm-hmm.
you almost want to be a deal magnet where you're finding deals, and then you do what you want with them. You either pick off the ones you like and you flip them, or hold them, or rent them, and then you sell off everything else. Really, it was like a net worth or a New Western, because that's what they're
So
doing.
you're the smarter one in the group, because often investors, sometimes we make mistake and we refuse to let that mistake go,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So you buy a bad house, instead of just cut your losses, you dump more money in it, fixing up a bad house, and then you end up losing more money in
Sure,
time.
exactly. Part of that's
This episode is brought to you by Buzz Vacation Rentals, a premier property management company in Houston and Galveston. Give Buzz a call today if you need help in managing your short-term and vacation rental properties at 281-549-8432 or visit their website at buzzvacationsrentals.com. Now back to the Real Estate Baller Show.
if you have 10 houses going on, or some of those will be better than others, right? So it's
Yeah.
easier to cut loose a bad deal when you have 9 others or 10 others.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I think that volume actually can help reduce risk so long as your liquidity is good. So you've got a liquidity risk, of doing a lot of deals. But if you have, part of that is saving your money and reinvesting it back in your operation. So if you're not blowing through all your money and you're piling up cash and you mix in wholesales, part of what I like to think about was I would always, if I could wholesale enough houses to kind of break even on all my notes. It's kind of hard to go bankrupt if you're making your notes with wholesales, and you're staying above float. And then whenever these flips hit, those are huge cash events. Those are really big
Yep.
cash events. So as time goes on, you're low, you're lowering your cash position. That's what a lot of investors do. It's low, 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 and then they have a cash. They sell a house, and then they have a little more cash, and they just go downhill. So if you can teach people how to wholesale inside their flipping business, it helps tremendously pay all the notes off and keep the notes flowing. Plus, you can cherry pick the deals you like. To me, it makes sense.
Right.
Those two should kind of be used in tandem. You have wholesales for cash, quick cash, and then you have your flips for big cash, but down the road. So that's kind of what I did. Liquidity, trying to stack as much cash as I could. And that's, you scale, right? I mean, you're just scaling as quick as you can.
So in today's world, what does your operation look like?
Yeah. So, my operation, I think of it like a baton. So a lot of times I'm finding deals, or, wholesalers might bring me a deal, or realtors bring me a deal, or, I do events all the time. People bring deals to events, and I have a project manager. So the project manager will go out and give me a quote on the job. And if the numbers work, obviously you're putting all the numbers together. If the number looks good, I'll bring the finances together, and I'll draw the contract up. My assistant draws the contract up. We'll get it signed. We'll send it to title. Assistant turns utilities on, gets the whole process going. I pass that baton to my project manager. My project manager starts the process. He's 30 to 40 days on the rehab. That's all he's doing. Focused strictly on the rehab portion, and then he's handing that baton off to a realtor. I don't list any of my houses. I haven't done that in a long time. I've got multiple realtors that list these houses for me. I just pass them around. A lot of them list them because we've got all kinds of things we're doing together. But anyway, so it's kind of like a baton. I think of it that way. You're kind of handed off to the next, and they're handed to the next, and they're handed to the next. My assistant will, when docs come in to sign, she's a notary. So, she'll print them all out. She'll come upstairs to my office. I'll sign. She'll notarize it all, and she'll send it right back to title. So some of that's trying to use your time wisely. I don't really go to title. If I go to title, it's usually to take a photo. I don't even really, it's just more for social media kind of thing. But I mean, most everything I do is sign there. And then when we close, it's the same thing, right? They'll send the docs over. She'll notarize them all, and she'll send them back. And then we'll send off the package to title. But it's, how do you allocate your time as wisely as possible. I feel like that's a big part of real estate. And that's thinking like a business person. That's kind of
Right.
our job, in my opinion. It's not to be real estate investors, it's to be business people. If you're a good business
Right.
person, then, I think you'll run your operation a little differently.
Yeah, because I mean, you've been in real estate for 7 years, but I say you've surpassed many people who've started around the same time or before you, because you look at it as a business and you don't look at it as like a high-paying job. Someone who wants to do everything from going to buy appointments to managing rehab to listing their own properties, right?
I think a lot of that comes down to, it's kind of like the person who says, I want to paint the house because I can save a little money.
Mm-hmm.
But you're missing the fact that if in the next 3 months you fix that property up yourself, yeah, you're going to save a little money in rehab. But if I did 10 properties and you did one, who comes out better?
Right.
That's the problem. That's what people miss right there. Plus, nobody wants to be in a house. You didn't become an investor to paint houses. If you did that, you did it by mistake.
I realized a long time ago that I'm not a good painter.
You probably don't like it either, right? Yeah, I've heard people say this. They'll go, "Well, it's so therapeutic," or something. So if that's the reason. Find another therapeutic hobby. But I just think that's not the way to run a business. You have to think in terms of business structure and not, that to me is the key from all aspects. Doesn't matter what you do. I mean, it's not necessarily a real estate thought. It's a business thought. And I could be in any business and think in terms of scalability and, and also what's the best use of my time. My
That's
time's
right.
worth more than $10 an hour or $15 an hour painting houses. There's a saying I
That's
like a
right.
lot, and I actually have it on my affirmations. And it says always watch your MWAs.
What's MWA?
Minimum wage activities.
Okay.
Always watch your minimum wage activities. You should never be doing any jobs that are for minimum wage, right? Because if your time's worth $300 an hour or $400 an hour, and you're doing things for $10 an hour, you're losing money.
So let's talk about that since you brought that up. I think as business owner, you sometimes get trapped into that, but sometimes as you build your team, and sometimes your team don't realize that they're making you do these minimum wage activity,
Yes.
right? So how do you combat that?
It's a good question. So I like to tell people that I hire, I like to tell them up front. I say this. I say, look, we're going to have difficult conversations. And I want you to know that. I know you're on a high right now, and, I'm hiring you, and things are great. And, you've been around our meetings, and you think I'm a great guy. I'm Mr. Nice Guy and all that. But, you're going to have really difficult conversations, and I want you to know that up front. I feel like setting expectations for what will be demanded of people is really important. It's kind of like that idea of you teach people how to treat you. Have you ever heard that? You teach people. So it's the same with people you work with. You're teaching them how they'll behave and what's acceptable. It's boundaries and all those kind of things, right? Where you're giving them all kinds of, all that sort of thing. So I think that's really important, is teaching people how to treat you and setting boundaries and letting them know, hey, we're going to have difficult conversations. So when those difficult conversations happen, they're expected. That's the problem, is people don't like to confront. They don't like awkward conversations. You know what I mean? They don't like those. How about uncomfortable? That's probably a better word. They don't want uncomfortable conversations. And me, I thrive in that. I'm weird, that way. I love having uncomfortable conversations. I don't have a problem with it at all. And I think that's helped me to some degree, and I think it's needed.
That's awesome.
It's needed in an operation like that, right? I mean, some of that goes on because of, you don't want to communicate because you're afraid of how people will respond to you.
I can't remember what book I read, but it says the more confrontations, maybe another word, or uncomfortable conversation you have with one another, the more you grow.
Absolutely.
Because that's how you learn. That's how you solve conflicts.
Yeah.
Your
ability to communicate, your ability to also be reasonable, be fair. I feel like some of that comes down to, I wouldn't ask you to do something I wouldn't do. Nobody wants to feel like, you're asking me to do things unreasonable. So I feel like, and I'm outworking everybody. So, that's the other thing. It's like a leader, right? The leader, if he's below you trying to, push you and help you grow, and he's right there with you, versus at the top of the mountain, he's like, get up here, it's a different form of motivation. So I work very, very hard, and I think that plays a role in it all, in my opinion.
So James, you started out doing flip, and you also did some wholesale. Are you thinking, or are you holding property or building your portfolio?
Yes. Absolutely. Yep. That's the thought there is as time's gone on, I'm flipping all these houses and I got to a point where, hey,
Mm-hmm.
why don't I flip 4 of them, keep one kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Flip 5, keep one, flip 4. And you probably look back, somebody that's done a lot of deals, I bet they look back and say, man, I wish I'd have kept more. And I don't know that any real estate investor said, I'm glad I sold anything, really. You just look back
Right.
in the past, and it's pretty easy to see that. I sold a
Yeah.
lot of houses in 2021 as I kind of got into lending. So I was doing more lending,
Mm-hmm.
and so I needed a
Mm-hmm.
lot of capital. So I sold a
Mm-hmm.
lot of properties that I had because I needed the money.
Well, yeah, I mean, in hindsight, we want to keep everything we ever got our hand on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Except for the really bad ones, the money pits one, right? But I mean, you needed to sell those so that you can keep feeding your machine.
Yes.
If you don't have enough cash, you know how important it is in our business. You may be out of business.
Yes.
Hey, if you're enjoying this episode so far, do leave us a comment below and also give it a like.
Part of that too is I would say I have a lot of really good relationships. Not everyone's perfect, but typically if people want to work with you, I think you're at a huge
Mm-hmm.
advantage. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's been a big part of my success is people who trust me. If I tell you I'm gonna do something, I am. And if we have a disagreement, I want to make it right. That's been something I'm always really it's important to me. Now, I've had times where I usually get in trouble with people. This is something I've been working on. Everybody should think about it. It's really setting proper expectations. Because if I get in trouble with
Yeah.
somebody or our relationship gets sideways, it's usually because you're expecting something from me that I didn't agree on, or maybe I didn't
Mm-hmm.
realize that's what you were expecting.
Mm-hmm.
I've had that with people
Yeah.
where I was going to help them. I helped them get going, or I was going to help them. And, maybe I gave them a list of things to do and they didn't do any of them, and then they
Mm-hmm.
basically expected me to build their business for them, sort of thing. I'm sure
Mm-hmm.
you've had that, mentoring people. And, it's like the old saying, I can help 1,000 people, but I can't carry 3 on my back.
That's right.
And so you get these people that think they don't want to work or they don't want to do it and they want me to build their business. And, I get sideways sometimes because I'm not going to, I'm working hard not to build your business. I mean, I love doing deals with you and everything, but I'm not going to work for you. That's why we're in business, right? Is to be financially independent and also get to choose who we work with. I love that aspect of real estate. If your stomach's turning a little bit because they're calling you, you don't have to answer.
Mm-hmm. That's
That's a
right.
nice thing about real estate. If you were out an employee at a company, there wasn't a thing you could do.
Uh-huh.
You have to answer.
That's right.
I love that about real estate. It's you get to choose who you work with.
So does your wife work in this business with
Yes,
you?
yes. She, one of my goals, like I told you when I first started, she basically told me she was like, James, I've got you, and
Mm-hmm.
I believe in you. I didn't know what we were going to do. I didn't know what I was going to get into. I did not know, but she just said, I believe in you, and
Yeah.
I always wanted to return that favor to her. And as I got into real estate and we were more successful, and she actually left her job in January and came
That's
full time
awesome.
on
That's
with me. Yeah,
awesome.
so that was something I was really excited about. And it's been a challenge in some ways, working with somebody all day long, and you aren't used to that. But I actually think our relationship's gotten much better, over time. So just from a marriage standpoint, I think it's gotten a lot better. But obviously, we can leave off the office and go get our kids early, and freedom, right? It's nice.
Right.
Friday, we went to Slitterbahn over the weekend, and we picked up our kids at 12 o'clock Friday. Just went and picked them up out of school and left. Like that's all. Isn't that why we do what we do as an entrepreneur? Just to be able to do
That's
things like
right. Yeah.
that. I love that fact.
The freedom to do whatever, that's
It
priceless.
is, isn't it? I mean, that's why why do we work so hard? I feel like that's that's one of the reasons is to be able to have experiences with our families and and as often as possible.
So what's your main responsibility in your operation, your day to
Oh,
day?
that's a good question. I think that my main responsibility, I would say, is meeting new people. It's networking, it's finding deals, it's finding clients,
Mm-hmm.
probably the marketing and sales. I think that's what I'm best at.
Mm-hmm.
If you put me in jet lending in a room with 800 people, I will make my
Mm-hmm.
way through that room. I will. I'll make my way through that. I'll meet as many people in that room. You give me 3 hours, I'll meet a lot of those people, and I'll walk away with hundreds of cards. And
Yeah.
I think that's probably one of my gifts is networking and finding out quickly what people want and helping them get it. You know what I mean? I think that's one of my skill sets is identifying what people want and what are their goals. And if they don't have them, helping them find it. You're going to value the person that can help you discover your goals or discover what you're after if you don't already know. And then if you can help them get there, you're really going to value them. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love helping people kind of reach the goals that they're after. And that, that might be a number of ways. Everybody's different. Everybody's at different stages. So, I kind of take where they're at, and that's my goal anyway, is to take where they're at and help them fill in the missing pieces. And sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. It's really teaching people how to think about this as a business, right? And there's blind spots. Even I have. Of course I have them. Everybody has them, but it's really neat when you can help somebody grow their awareness, and increase their operation, make it better and ultimately do more deals and become more successful. That's what I want to be known for, is somebody that helped the most amount of investors. That's a big goal. That's a big goal, a tall goal, but they say James Toler helped the most amount of investors grow their business. It's just a goal of mine, and I think I've helped a lot of people do that, and I've been doing that since I started. I think it's hard. I'm a teacher. I love teaching, and so even when I didn't know what I was doing, I was teaching. It's kind of like that thing,
There's always lesson to be learned, right?
And I think if you teach something, you're learning too, right? You're learning, and also to be able to formalize an idea, you're going to be able to do that. You have to be able to do that to teach. So you naturally are going to learn something better by formulating your thoughts around a topic and then teaching other people. So it's something I've always loved doing, and I think it's helped me a lot, is organizing difficult to understand ideas and then teaching them.
Yes, absolutely. That's the same reason why we have a podcast and you have your meetups, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we have, say 60 to 70 people a week. That's on a Monday at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
That's a unique room. Pretty much everybody in there is doing deals. You don't show up at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Monday,
That's right.
for no reason. But it's a unique room that I always had the approach. I'd rather have 5 high quality active investors than 100. And let's start from that base. Let's start from people who are doing deals and active, and then try to attract a certain type person in the real estate industry. And the people who aren't serious or ever going to do a deal, let's not go for them. And they're more than welcome to attend. But I think that's what we've attracted and kept, is serious people wanting to grow their business.
Yeah, I think we have several professional meeting goers in our industry, don't we?
Yes, absolutely.
So where do you see yourself next?
Well, that's a great thought, a great question. I think, like I said, I love teaching. I love kind of thinking, and I love helping people grow their businesses. So that really, the lending space is really ideal for that, right? If I can help people learn the process and teach the process and help them understand what's going on and give them confidence and, really help grow their business, I feel like I can add some value in that realm. And you would say education too, right? I think I'll probably do more. I love speaking. I feel like if you find your passion and then you stay within that passion, you're going to be successful, And I feel like that's something that's a natural thing for me. There's no faking it or anything. It's just what I truly enjoy and love. So you find something you love, people can sense the genuine side of that. I think they'll see it in you, and just that you just really truly enjoy it and love it. And so I think that I get more joy and satisfaction out of seeing, somebody grow their business and hit new levels than I do myself.
And you're talking about the flipping business or the hard money lending business?
I think, what's that again?
The lending business or the flipping business?
I think they're both. They both have a similar, education too, right? Education's kind of involved in that as well, as teaching people about how to do it. Well, we do that. We have all kinds of little classes we do all the time, and just groups that get together, which is teaching them how to find deals, how to attract deals, to wholesale off, to flip, and then it's to build to the rental portfolio, to build wealth.
Do you have a formula on what to add to your rental portfolio? How do you decide which property to keep?
Oh, that's a good question. I like to find properties that are newer. I know Eddie Gant told me that one time. He said all the houses he buys now, he fixes everything. He fixes the roof and the plumbing, and he tries to get them right. And so I like to find properties that I think I can do them all, get them all right, to where you don't have those headaches. You'd rather have your capital expenditures up front than, kind of dripping. It's like a death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
You got all these rentals, and it makes a lot of sense in that way. So the ones that I can get everything fixed, or the roof's good and the foundation's good and the electrical's good and plumbing, and get it all right, those are the ones I like to keep. Because it just makes sense. You don't want all those expenditures down the road when, if it's your AC goes out and it's $6,000, you'd rather have that $6,000 split up into 30 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like always something going on. Matter of fact, I met with a couple yesterday that had 80 houses, and they were like, "Oh my God, these 80 houses are just driving us crazy. We're just crazy, And I said, let me guess, you didn't do any repairs. You bought the house and you tried to do as little as possible, and then you put a renter in there." And they're like, "Well, how'd you know that?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "And you tried to maximize your cash flow." I said, "That's not the way to do rentals, in my opinion. I think the way to do rentals is get them right, because they're kind of like ticking time bombs, if you think about it. So get them right, and then over time, you have a lot less headache. And I think the experience of being a landlord is a lot more enjoyable. Is that a fair thought?
Yeah, I think your tenants take care of your property better when they come into a better property.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. If they walk into like a shithole or lipstick on a pig, that's like, oh, I don't have to take good care of it.
Exactly. Well, they say you want a good product at a good price, and I believe in that. So that's kind of how I look at it. Is, well, the numbers work to let me do everything to keep it.
So what has been a turning point in your career or an impactful moment from the time you started real estate until now?
I would say what's been a real impactful moment, probably lending. I'll tell you how I got started, with lending, more private lending. But I had a buddy of mine, good friend of mine, had a house in Seabrook, and he had a private lender that he was using, and the private lender backed out on the day of closing, and seller would not extend the contract.
Wow.
And so he called me up. He goes, "Look, James, you talk like you got a lot of money, or you have some money, but you're kind of my only hope here. This is a really good deal, and I don't want to lose." This deal. So he said, "I don't know if you could help me." But so anyway, I said, "Yeah, let me go look at it." I went and looked at it, and he needed $116,000 to close the deal. So I looked at it, and I loved the deal. It was a really good deal. So I went to my bank. I basically went to the house, looked at it, loved it, liked the deal. I knew the area real well. I went to my bank. I got a $116,000 cashier check, and I went straight to title.
Yeah.
And drew up the docs real quick, and he closed it. That's amazing. And that was kind of, like a 2-hour close kind of thing. But it was cash, so it was easy to do, It wasn't, but their lawyer drew up docs real quick, promissory note and all that. And that was kind of a revelation. But I liked it too, because I kind of saved the deal. So, I enjoyed that process of saving the deal, versus it's one thing to make money as a flipper.
Right.
But it's another thing it's a different type of emotion, in my opinion, that sort of thing. So anyway, I would say, just getting into really diversifying, having more streams of income. I feel like that was a really big pivot point for me. Would you agree? I mean, in real estate, you need as many streams of income as possible.
That seems to be the growth pattern for real estate investor, right? When you first get started, you flip a few, you wholesale a few, and you build up your asset. And then you look at, okay, how many ways can I make money, right? And then you start adding different ways to make money.
Exactly.
And next thing you know, you get busier than you ever when you started.
I love doing deals. I love helping investors and helping people. And
it is fun.
I wouldn't say everything goes perfect every time, but I think you get better too over time of learning where things go wrong, where do things go sideways, and ultimately how do you manage that to where you just have the best outcome, which is that's the goal. My opinion is, having a transaction where everybody got what they needed out of it.
So today, do you still personally approve every deal that comes through?
Yes. So I approve them all. Yes. I've got a pretty unique process of how I've done it, yes. That's one thing, you got to do. I mean, you're ultimately responsible for that. So, yes.
Do you have system and process in place to prevent when things run, what do you call it, a shit show, train run off the
In what
track
way? You talking about flipping or lending or what aspect of it?
for your
Yeah.
flipping business?
You know, I wouldn't say flipping. I wouldn't say it goes off the rails too much. You know, only time I've lost money, looks like everybody has on deals. Typically, it's from the rehab being a little too far away. The most I've ever lost on a deal, was about 20 grand, something like that. And it was because it was in an area I wasn't real familiar with. And on the back side of the house, there was actually a train, railroad tracks. And I didn't know.
Oh,
So in this
yeah.
neighborhood, it was in Missouri City, the Sienna Plantation. The
Yep.
comps on the whole neighborhood were great. It just so happened that the comps
You,
along this railroad train, as you would imagine,
you forgot to look at the
yeah,
railroad
the
track.
thing was is you couldn't see it. So there was a big
Yeah.
wall that they blocked everything from. So if you didn't know the area real well and you went out there and looked, and you know, and when you were there was no train, you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
It wasn't obvious.
Right.
So like right across the street, you'd have, they were selling for way more money, and you just anybody backed up to that got hit, and they should get hit. And it makes total
Right.
sense. I just didn't know it was there. And so I
Yeah.
held on to that property too long, waiting, hey, you guys are lowballing me, y'all are lowballing me over and over. No, the truth is if I would have taken an offer quick, because it's the holding cost and the interest and, all that really
Right.
starts getting you in finance or the insurance and taxes and everything. That really starts getting you. So I held on too long, and then I ended up taking way less than I thought. And so I would say, where you go off the rails is really not knowing the area real well. If I would have known that area better, I wouldn't have paid as much money, and I'd have done okay. Or I'd have took that offer that they gave originally, and I'd have made, I'd have made a little money, but it wouldn't have been as bad. And your contractors too, have issues sometimes when you're that far away. You're an hour and 15 minutes, further than you normally are. I mean, everything's a problem in that way. Yeah, that's probably where I've gone off the rails is doing them too far.
Okay, so as we're wrapping up here, so what is the one thing that people might be surprised to learn about you?
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, might be surprised to know about me. I read a lot. I would say I consider myself, more of a deep thinker and a like a philosopher almost, than a real estate investor and or even a businessman. And so I love reading. I mean, I read a lot. I really do. I read. I listen to stuff on my phone, like Audible, all the time, and videos on different things. So I always like to learn, and all kinds of topics. Not even real estate necessarily. Just all kinds of different ranges of topics. I think that helps me in real estate by having such a wide, diverse of knowledge on many different topics. But I spend a lot of time. I don't know how long I'll do real estate. I mean, I think ultimately, I would like to do more teaching and things like that. That's probably what I'll eventually do, something like that. I do. I read a lot and I study a lot, and I think probably a little more than most people. And just sitting in thought. Waking up early in the morning, and I'll be deep in thought. Sometimes I get too far.
Yeah.
Down. And probably.
Get back to Earth,
Yeah, come
James.
back to Earth. Exactly. Yeah, but it helps me too. There's a good and bad to all that, right? Because I'll go to depths that most people won't think about it, and I think it's helped me a lot in real estate too. Because it's kind of like that idea. Albert Einstein said it. He said, "It's not that I'm smarter than anybody. I just stick with problems longer."
So are you obsessed with like when I hear of something, right? I have to go do my
Exactly.
research. I have to read
Yes.
about it. Like I can't stop. And so I feel like I got enough information.
That's me. Now, I think at one time I was too far in that I felt like I was being productive by gaining knowledge. And
Yeah.
you're not being productive if all of that learning leads to knowledge and it just stays in knowledge. So that was something I did for a long time
Right.
where I'm real analytical, but I let it all lead to knowledge. I feel like all your learning has got to lead to the action part. And even
Yeah.
better, I feel like if you act on what you're learning and then you learn along the way, right? So it's like extreme. That's the best
Totally.
process is jump head first into something and then just learn like crazy. And then even better, try to learn from other people. Find mentors and things like that can speed up the process of it all. I feel like that's a really good, wise thing to do.
Yeah, and you do apply that really well. That's what I notice about you. You always align yourself with good people in the industry and lean on them and learn from them.
I try. It's one of those things. If you have a mentor who's you look up to and you admire, and you should really do what they say with like no hesitation or reservation. You should just do it. And I would say that I did that to some degree, is just do what I was told. I just did. I think that helped me some.
Amazing. All right. So last question for today. How does the audience get in touch with you?
I'd say if anybody wants to get a hold of me, they can call me. My number's 832-256-8596. I'd say reach out to me, and I'd love to help you any way I can. If they want to grow their business, or it doesn't matter. They want to, I can help you do anything you want, and I'd love to. That's my favorite part to this.
Thanks for watching the Real Estate Ballers Show. If you found value in this show, give us some like and subscribe, and leave some comment below to help us with the YouTube algorithm. So thank you, and see you in the next episode.